agenda pieces of legislation we need to deal with, and one is I need a.
I will move to excuse Janice.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying yes.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Ms. Seavold is excused. And then on your legislative portion this evening, resolution, I think it's a resolution.
Do you want to do roll call first?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Before we do anything else.
Okay.
We're not in session yet.
No.
Okay, Mr. Hillier?
Here.
Mr. Fair?
Yeah, here.
Mrs. Seavolt, she's been excused. Mr. Barone?
Here.
Mrs. Vale?
Yes.
Mr. Francis?
Here.
Mrs. Carl?
Here.
Thank you. Now, the next thing we need to do is remove a piece of legislation, ordinance 2014-16 from your legislation package this evening.
Remove it?
Yes.
Yes, you
For
take it
tonight.
off the agenda.
There's some changes going to have to be made on it.
That's the last one.
We can withdraw it.
We good?
Yeah, we can formally do that at the time whenever it comes up for reading.
Okay, that sounds good.
Is the sponsor, Mrs. Vale, can then remove it then.
Yeah,
That'll
we
keep
don't
us-
want to give it a reading, we just.
Yeah,
want to
but
remove
when it would come up for reading, you'll just remove it before it goes for reading.
Okay, we've always removed it at
Yeah.
the beginning before.
That's fine. Either one works.
Okay, the invocation tonight will be given by Mark, or I'm Scott. No, this is interesting. Hi, Scott, how are you? Scott Sharp's granddaughter? Riley Huffman, I believe, is going to give the invocation this evening. So we'll all rise for invocation and remain standing for the pledge.
Just talk right in there, okay?
Jesus, thank you for our mom and dads and our family and friends and our friends and family and everyone in the whole world. Amen.
Thank you.
That was really nice, thank you. Acceptance of the minutes. Do I have any questions about the acceptance of the minutes, and do I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
It's been so moved and
Second.
seconded for the acceptance of the minutes. Do we have to have a roll call for that, or can we just, okay,
All acceptance.
okay. Minutes have been accepted. Received any petitions or communications, ma'am? Any committee reports this evening? Okay. Liquor control license?
No.
And proclamations. Person speaking on matters not covered by legislation, we have none. So we will now start with the legislation portion of the meeting this evening. For resolutions, third reading, we have a couple, and we'll start off by having Mrs. Knoll, if you would please read resolution number 2014-77, number and title only.
Resolution number 2014-77, a resolution confirming the mayor's reappointment of Jim Depew to the Civil Service Commission.
Mr. Francis.
Thank you, Mr. Fair. This has received its third reading, so I move to adopt Resolution 2014-77.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt this resolution 2014-77. Mr. Francis.
All I can say is I am glad that Jim is going to take the place on the Civil Service Commission. Mr. Glass?
Jim's been the chairman of the Civil Service Commission for quite some time and done an excellent job, and runs a very professional operation. So we're glad to have him back.
Any other
He's got a lot of experience as a CEO, so
a lot of
it's
experience.
beneficial.
Ms. Newell, call the roll, please.
Mr. Hillier?
Yes.
Mr. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Barone?
Yes.
Mrs. Vale?
Yes.
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carl?
Yes.
Motion is passed. Resolution has been adopted. Resolution 2014-79. Ms. Newell, please.
Resolution number 2014-79, a resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to sell by sealed bid a fire vehicle not needed for public use by the City of Mount Vernon.
Ms. Carl.
I move passage of Resolution 2014-79.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for the resolution, passage of Resolution 2014-79. Mrs. Carl.
Okay, I think that this has been discussed previously, and this is the third reading, so unless somebody has something else to say, I imagine we can just go ahead and vote.
Only that you'll see on your legislation tonight, there's two different old ambulances on there. The one hasn't been used as an ambulance for quite some time. It's called Box 491, and we've used it as a utility vehicle. So in case you had a question of why we were getting rid of two ambulances, we are not, so.
Any other questions? Mrs. Newell.
Mr. Hillier?
Yes.
Mr. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Barone?
Yes.
Mrs. Vale?
Yes.
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carl?
Yes.
Resolution is passed. Next resolution is for a second reading. That includes our third reading resolutions. Resolutions for second reading, we have one resolution.
No.
You missed 2014-80.
I'm sorry. Resolution 2014-80. Mrs. Newell.
Resolution number 2014-80, a resolution confirming the mayor's appointment of James William or Bill Alley to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a 5-year term.
Mrs. Francis.
Thank you, Mr. Fair. Move to adopt Resolution 2014-80.
I second.
It's been moved and adopted to adopt Resolution 2014-80. Mr. Francis.
Mr. Glass, you have anything to say about
Only
Mr.
comment
Alley?
about Bill is he's been a longtime member of the Zoning Board of Appeals and a very good one, who makes very excellent decisions on that board, a very difficult board to serve on.
He very rarely misses.
Right.
Yeah, he is a good man. I'd echo all those thoughts. Mrs. Newell, please call the roll.
Mr. Hillier?
Yes.
Mr. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Barone?
Yes.
Mrs. Vale?
Yes.
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carl?
Yes.
Resolution has been adopted. Resolutions for second reading begin with Resolution 2014-84. Mrs. Newell.
Resolution number 2014-84, a resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to sell by sealed bid a fire vehicle not needed for public use by the City of Mount Vernon.
Thank you. This, Mrs. Carl, this is your second piece.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I just move a second reading for this.
Okay. Resolution number 2014-84 receives its second reading for this evening. Concludes resolutions for second reading. Resolutions for first reading. Resolution number 2014-88. Number thing only, please.
Resolution number 2014-88, a resolution to grant an easement in the city right-of-way of West Gambier Street.
This will receive its first reading this evening. Next resolution for first read is Resolution 2014-89. Ms. Newell.
Resolution number 2014-89. A resolution authorizing and directing the auditor of the City of Mount Vernon to transfer certain funds.
Mr. Hillier.
Thank you, Mr. Fair. I move to suspend the rule for 3 separate readings. Take Resolution 2014-89 to its third and final reading, please.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to take Resolution 2014 to its third and final reading. Ms. Newell, call the roll, please.
Mr. Hillier?
Yes.
Mr. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Barone?
Yes.
Mrs. Vale?
Yes.
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carl?
Yes.
Mr. Hillier.
Move to adopt Resolution 2014-89, please.
Second.
Been moved and it's been moved and seconded for the adoption of 2014-89. Are there any questions? Mr. Hillier.
Thank you. Council, we have before us 5 transfers totaling about $40,000, and I'm going to have Mr. Scott explain those if he would, please.
Thank you, Mr. Hillier and Council. Item 2 and 3 combined for $5,000 will put additional funds in for EMS materials and supplies. Chief has indicated that the medical supplies and medications to get through the rest of the year, they need some additional funds there. Item 3 for $4,000 into the civil service testing. We've had a number of retirees and separations of employment in the last few months, so we will be doing civil service testings here throughout the rest of the year, as well as promotional testings. So we'll need some additional funding to get that completed. Item 4 is an adjusting to line accounts within the TIF district between the school districts and construction. It's always an estimate as to how much money we'll take in and pay out for the school districts. This has to do with the Coshocton Road TIF district, by the way, that we reciprocate monies back to the school systems with. And item 5 for $3,600. Again, we're going into cemetery burial relief. You just did one 2 weeks ago for $1,800, and we have consumed that already. And so we're trying to get ourselves planned for what might happen through the rest of the year.
Any questions for Mr.
So
Scott?
number 5, then that's planning ahead a little bit, not just paying out.
That right.
Oh, thank you.
For fire equipment, we have had people on behalf of the city, Stan and Linda Eshelman, who have donated $220 to our fire department for them to purchase a carbon monoxide monitor. So, and we have sent a thank you reply for their contribution.
Thank you. And thank you to the Eshelmans.
Any other questions?
Could we, while we're on this topic, I wonder if Mr. Glass could just give us 30 seconds on what's going on there on that project right now for the
On the
public?
American National Camp?
Yeah, just,
Cameron, could you update people? He's with it every day.
the fact that it's costing more to them is of interest to me.
The actual additional cost?
Yeah.
I guess to give you a rundown on kind of where we were and where we're going to. We took original samples, soil samples out there and determined certain levels of contamination. Part of the contract was when we awarded the contract to a contractor, his responsibility was to go out and do some more intensive testing and a little more sampling out there. What we found out in a nutshell is that some of the levels are a little bit higher than we originally anticipated. And so it takes more material to treat it. It's not that we change our process, it takes more material to treat it. So therefore it increases the cost of the project. So we went back to the grant agency to make sure that they were comfortable with. Basically, we maxed out the allowable grant, what we applied for, and then anything above that grant total, the owner, Rio Tinto, is paying that cost.
And they understood that from the get-go, right?
Yes, sir, yes. But as far as the procedures that are taking place, they actually mix this material in with the soil in 50 by 50 grids. It gets tested before it leaves the site. If it gets a clean bill of health, then it's trucked out, and it's actually going up to Wyandotte County or something to that effect.
Landfill.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then what are we left with then, a landscape that is obviously diminished, or do
Yeah,
they come back in and put topsoil?
They'll be putting 2 feet of fill back in there with about 3 inches of topsoil on top. So basically, we're going to restore the grade to its existing state at this point.
Great,
And then hopefully it'll be green grass by next year.
terrific.
Yes,
Thank you.
awesome.
Well, I mentioned Rio Tinto, we have been in conversation, Cameron and I have been working with the contractors and the engineering as well as Rio Tinto. They've been very supportive of this and continue to realize that as they move forward, any additional funds, they'll come up with as well.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I have none.
Okay, Ms. Snow, you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hillier?
Yes?
Mr. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Barone?
Yes.
Mrs. Vale?
Yes.
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carl?
Yes.
The resolution 2090 has been passed. The ordinance for third reading. We're into ordinances now. We're ordinance number 2014-14. Mrs. Newell.
Ordinance number 2014-14. An ordinance to amend sections 141.01 and 141.02 of the codified ordinances of the City of Mount Vernon relative to the administration of the Shade Tree Commission and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Mrs. Carl?
I move passage of ordinance number 2014-14.
Second.
Moved and seconded for the passage of ordinance 2014-14. Ms. Carl?
Thank you, Mr. Fair. We've talked about this previously, and this is just a change in the original ordinance, and to bring it up to code. And so at this point, since the code enforcement officer, a member of council, will not be on the Shade Tree Commission, but the superintendent of public lands, that position has been held by Mr. Zimmerman right now. He will be an official member of the Shade Tree Commission. We'll have 6 members instead of 5 members, and also the city council member of the Shade Tree Commission, which is me at the moment. I will be a non-voting member instead of a voting member. So those are the things that are being changed, and I know that we're going to have to appoint some other people. I know we have, with the recent departure of Susan Hayes, then that means that there are going to be probably a couple of people who will have to be appointed pretty quickly to the Shade Tree Commission for our future meetings. So I don't know if anybody else has any comments or.
Only a comment of clarification. It looks, from what I read here, that the commission is composed of 9 voting members, 6 of whom are from the public, and the other 3 are the safety director,
Yeah.
the engineer, and the superintendent, right?
Right, yeah.
And then you serve on it in a non-voting.
Correct.
I only mention that because I thought I had heard at an earlier discussion of this that Mr. Zimmerman, for example, and the others from administration don't vote on here, and that's not what this says.
That's not what this says.
So
No.
they vote. 9 people vote, 6 from the public, 3 from administration. Okay. And I'm fine with that. I just want to be clear
Yeah,
that that's our understanding.
That's what it
Question.
says.
If somebody did want to become a member of that Shade Tree Commission and fill one of those slots, is it best to call Mr. Glass's office or?
Or Tanya, or the mayor's office.
The mayor.
And is there a type of description or anything for that volunteer position if somebody was interested?
Well, I know that just being, the member that I am, I know there is a real need for, people that have the expertise, the arbor expertise especially, and with the plantings that we're doing. Right. Because, we have some really valuable members right now, but we need some more. And I know that, Susan Hayes was invaluable the last several years as organizing the Arbor Day program, and I think Kate Burley might continue in that role, it looks like. But we need people that have some, not only interests, but also have expertise that they could lend to this commission.
I want to make a clarifying point here to you.
Yes, sir.
Now, I'm assuming that that the mayor is the person that appoints people to the Shade Tree. Is that correct?
Yeah.
The mayor makes the appointment when council approves it.
So, I understand that.
It's right there in 14102.
So anyway, maybe Susan said this, I wasn't hearing it maybe correctly. So applications should be made to the mayor,
Yes.
Yes.
not to the Shade Tree Commission.
Yeah, that's why you got to.
Oh, yeah, the Shade Tree
Yeah.
Commission does not,
No.
no.
Yeah, just wanted to clarify that.
But we have, at our last Shade Tree Commission meeting, we did discuss that we, need to try to find some people out there that would be good in the public to fill these roles and try to encourage people that would be, could be very suitable for this commission to, encourage them to apply to the commission.
Mrs. Carl and Mr. Fair, as you well know, my observation of this group is that this is really a hands-on commission.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these folks get in there.
They go out and mark
Yeah,
trees.
this is not an honorary position.
No.
If you want to have a direct impact
Yeah.
on the beautification and the appearance of this
Oh,
city,
yeah.
this is a great opportunity to
Yeah,
really influence what goes on.
that's right, absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Newell?
Mr. Hilliard?
Yes.
Mr. Fair?
Yes.
Mr. Barone?
Yes.
Mrs. Vale?
Yes.
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mrs. Carl?
Yes.
The ordinance has been approved. That concludes we have no ordinance for second reading and no ordinances for first reading.
Yes, Mr. President, we need to remove ordinance 2014-16 from the agenda this evening, please.
Okay.
Yes, Mrs. Vale, as the sponsor, has the ability to remove that. So
Correct.
we will remove that until a time when she wishes to have it reintroduced.
That doesn't need a second, does it? Okay. So that ordinance, number 2014-16, has been removed from the agenda. That concludes our council meeting this evening, except for comments from the administration. Mr. Hawkins, can you comment tonight?
Yes, I do. Council, just a reminder, next Monday night at 6 PM, we're going to be meeting at Mount Vernon Middle School with the school board. We need your agenda items. So far, we have the school resource officer and traffic patterns out there on that agenda. We certainly need other items that you would like to discuss with the school board. Last year, we had those different committees, the ones that did the senior citizens luncheon and publications and the football field and those type of things. If there's those things you want to revive, let Tanya know, and we'll put those in the agenda. But we need to have a agenda to make it worthwhile for both us and them next Monday night at 6 PM.
Thank you.
Also, at our next regular meeting of this council, we'll have the public hearing for the Beckett annexation. So that will be coming up in 2 weeks.
What time is that, Mr. Hawkins?
Well, we don't know until it's, you haven't published that date, that time yet, have you?
We need to determine the time.
So people can
Yes.
have
Well,
the
it'll be in the
For
paper.
the public hearing?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's been sent. It's at,
You have a time?
I think
It'll
it's
be in our
like
agenda
6:20, isn't it? Something like that.
I wanted to say 6:40, but I'd have to look.
But it's been published in the newspaper.
It has been in the
Yeah,
newspaper.
it's been through the public notices and things.
Yes, it has.
That's going to be the
Okay,
20th.
trick or treat will be on October the 30th from 5:30 to 7. The cemetery wall, the bids are coming in soon for that. Is that correct, Cameron?
Has to go out first.
Have to go out. The bid, the next move. We hope to have that done this winter. If you haven't noticed, there are a lot of road construction or road paving going on, coming down High Street today, obviously, for the public to know that is one lane at places. McGibney Road is now completed.
It is done and open, yes.
It's done and open. But Upper Gilcrest Road, a very heavily traveled road between Yaga Road and New Gambia Road, will be closed for 2 weeks starting tomorrow. And so make sure people are aware of that. Another thing that's coming up are leaves.
For adjournment, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.